What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of Crown Wrestling. The hot topics are in. Today we're talking about Booker T and his rumored beef with Jeff Jarrett. Also, we want to talk about Thunder Rosa discussing personal issues being inserted into AEW storylines. And AJ Francis, aka Top Dolla, finally talks about his release from the WWE. Don't go nowhere, stay tuned, keep it locked. We're going to talk about all these things that's going on in the world of professional wrestling. And afterwards, I'm going to give you my deepest thoughts, my opinions, and how I see it. Don't go nowhere, keep it locked. Crown Wrestling. Crown Wrestling. Credit to Wrestle Inc. for transcription. So we're going to move right into Booker T and rumored beef with Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett had a decorated career in pro wrestling and is notably one of the active wrestlers who have competed in the most promotions in the USA. Jarrett clashed with Booker T in both WCW and TNA, and on his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T reflected on his relationship with Double J. According to Booker, he and Jarrett are very close and share a deep level of mutual respect. Me and Jarrett, we close, man. We tight. We got a lot of respect for each other. Unlike a lot of guys in this business, Jeff Jarrett has always been a man of his word, a man of integrity, and I have nothing but respect for Jeff Jarrett. However, Booker addressed old claims about an altercation he reportedly had with Jarrett in TNA. Jeff was micromanaging. It was getting close to the showtime. It was almost time to go out, and Jeff came in and said, "Guys, y'all gotta wrap this up. We got to get going." I'm like, "Jeff, hold on. We're trying to get this stuff right." Following this, Booker laughed. He laughed off the reports and again emphasized that he and Jarrett never had beef. Moving along to Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa discusses personal issues being inserted in AEW storylines. AEW has notably involved many wrestlers' families in storylines, such as the recent inclusion of Sting's son in his retirement angle. Based on this and her own experiences, Thunder Rosa commented on the promotion's utilization of personal storylines in an appearance on Busted Open Radio. According to Rosa, so far AEW has managed to do a good job bringing personal factors into storylines, and it makes things seem more realistic. I think with some of the personal experiences that were brought up into storylines, it was done well and in a way where it's kind of like borderline, but not too personal. I think it just brings a lot more reality to things. Additionally, she pointed out that by taking this route, fans could more easily relate to a wrestler instead of just reacting to a promo, because the reactions are not going to be as super reactive, but it's going to be something where you can relate and you can express in a way where people can understand what you're feeling. Thunder Rosa also recalled how drawing from your personal experiences was something she'd been taught in acting classes. That's one of the most important parts in acting classes, where they give you certain characters and the characters go through certain things. They always tell you to dig deep. Dig deep from the experiences you had in the past, your personal experiences. Moving right along to AJ Francis, aka Top Dolla. Top Dolla finally talks about his release from the WWE. AJ Francis, formerly Top Dolla, was released by WWE for the second time in September last year. He had not long returned to the company in 2022 after previously being released a year earlier. Francis opened up in an exclusive interview with Wrestle Inc. about how he felt after his second WWE departure. "I let myself be pissed off for 24 hours, and then it was time to game plan. Actually, I get an opportunity now to show that I'm a star. I'm not background. I'm not just another person that happens to be in your roster. I can carry your roster if you give me a microphone and let me go. I am at the point now where I'm hotter than I ever was in WWE, and I'm doing it all on my own. Francis continued to describe how WWE doesn't need people with outside connections due to their own reach. But he said that since his release, he's been able to make connections of his own with ESPN, ABC, NBC, TMZ, and more, all from contacts he made prior to his wrestling career. He noted the only people in wrestling who had been on the Pat McAfee show more often than him had been Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. And now he feels an appreciation when he uses those connections to promote TNA. When I go on the Pat McAfee show and I talk about TNA, the people in TNA are like, "Oh, thank you so much." I can't believe it, because other people are capable of doing that. People think McAfee first met me at NXT. That's just not the case. There's a lot that I could bring to a lot of companies, and these other companies see that, and that's why they're all paying me money, and that's why they call him Top Dollar. So let's do a little rewind. So we discuss Booker T's situation, Thunder Rosa, and Top Dollar. Let's go back to Booker T. Let's give our thoughts on that. So Booker T, he laid it all out there and he let people know that no, this was not a beef. Rumors. So that's what was being put out there. People said that they had issues, they had beef. So he was talking about the micromanagement, and he felt like Jeff Jarrett was micromanaging him. And it's understandable why he wouldn't like that. I could tell you about personal experiences without going into too much detail. In the past, when I've worked for a particular company, there were actually folks that micromanaged, and I had to let them know, do not do that. Because what are you doing when you're micromanaging somebody? You're actually setting them up for failure, because you pushing off a negative spirit towards them, and they're going to eventually mess up, because that's the energy of messing up that you were bringing in their direction. So micromanaging sucks. Don't ever get into it. And I agree with Booker T on this. Nobody wants to be micromanaging. It was a company that I used to work for some years ago, and they literally said that the managers cannot micromanage. They get reprimanded for that. So kudos to Booker T on that. No micromanaging. No more. Thunder Rosa, let's talk about her. So she talked about the personal stories being inserted inside of AEW storylines and personal situations. Well, this kind of reminds me of Mick Foley. When he did an interview, he was talking about how back in the day, in the Attitude Era, this is something us 1900s babies know. In the Attitude Era, they used to have a sign in the background that was on the wall, and it said that all your personal issues are invited into WWE storylines. We gladly welcome, because it's good for business. Something to that effect. This is what they put out there. And so you had a lot of stuff that was going on. You take Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, for instance. Well, they had a lot of personal issues, and they brought that into the ring. They brought it into the ring. When it comes down to this, I think you have to be very careful. You have to know when to draw that line. And so, more than a couple of times, I believe that WWE went a little bit too far with that, bringing that personal issue inside of the storyline. They incorporated people's deaths and stuff. I think you get a little bit too far when you do that. So if you want to bring something personal inside of it, just make sure that it's not too personal. Something that will kind of like affect the individual. I think there's a line that should not be crossed. I think that people should get to a point where they're able to have expression without harm. So that's the news that we have today. Come back and see us next time. We got a lot more info coming up. We got a lot more hot stories. We have a lot to talk about. Thank you guys for tuning in to another great episode of Crown Wrestling. Crown Wrestling.